All right, guys, what up? I just wanted to quickly talk about my thoughts and my strategy for picking a team to be in our Dynasty League for this year. And just kind of what a strategy would be to picking a team. Some of you already know what team you're going to be. I think that's great. But maybe some other things to think about that you may have not thought about, right? So first of all, let's start with high overall teams, right? Some of these high overall teams, I don't think it's gonna be a problem, but I won't let certain people be like certain teams like top teams in the league, right? I'm not gonna be strict with it, but I don't think that's gonna be a problem because I think most of us want to pick teams you can rebuild. Dynasty league, Keep in mind that like the seasons are shorter than they are Madden, so it's gonna go by quicker. We can get more seasons in a year, right? Um, so I don't really think that'll be too big of an issue. If it is, I'll talk to whoever it is that wants to be the good team and see if it works out or not. But I think most of us are going to be aiming for teams more in the middle to bottom half, right? Middle to bottom half of the league, and creating a dynasty with that, right? So all I want to do is kind of give my warnings and my thoughts and maybe like a sweet spot of some good teams to be. I kind of have some lists over here of some teams that you could consider being. So you already know what teams you're going to be. If you don't know, here's my thoughts on it. So I think any team you want to be, if you guys have a team in mind, middle to low, that you have in mind, and you want it, you're gonna get it, no problem. I got no problem with it, right? But I just want to keep in mind there's a few things with picking teams, right? That's one, picking a team that you can have fun with, that you can play with multiple seasons with, you don't get bored with, kind of making that like your team essentially, right? And two would be almost, and here's the thing, my thought is like, I have no problem if you want to pick a really bad team and rebuild it and try to rebuild it, but it's going to be hard, right? It's going to be hard. Like if you picked 67 overall, like say whatever, like Kent State or a MAC team or like JMU recently joined or something like that, Texas State, whatever. I'm just naming off some bad Division I schools. I said go for it, right? But keep in mind, we're part of the goal is to, win the college football playoffs. Right now, if we're all bad teams, someone's gonna have to win the playoffs the first year, right? Um, and eventually 3 or 4 years in, maybe that team you picked that's a low overall becomes a powerhouse. But my point is, maybe you don't want to pick too low of an overall team that it takes 2 or 3 seasons for you to actually get into the college football playoffs, right? So, how the college football playoffs works, right, is like, 4 Big 10, Big 12, ACC, SEC conference winners, and the rest are just top ranked teams, right? So I mean, if say right now I'm looking maybe 12 to 15 people in the league to start, hopefully more as the season goes on, right? But there's a lot of that are in the MAC or the AAC or the Conference USA or whatever, Mountain West Conference, something like that. Like they're not going to let everybody into the playoffs. They'll let a 9-3, Florida State or Clemson or something like that, an ACC, SEC team, in over, an 11-1 team. If there's too many, let's say someone goes 12-0 in the MAC, someone goes 12-0 in the Conference USA, someone goes 12-0 in some of these lower level conferences. You go 11-1 or whatever, you may not make it. So all I'm saying with these super low overall teams, at first year, first couple years or so, like just beware, you may not have, that shot to make the playoffs. You could go 11-1 and miss it. Like I'm just saying, and then also conference realignment. I'm sure they're going to give me in the league the power to edit conferences. So it's like, okay, maybe if you go whatever, you have a winning record of some degree, make a bowl game, you can get moved up to a bigger conference, right? I think the goal would be we want as many people in the college football playoffs. That's what's fun, because we have 12 teams in the college football playoffs. We can easily get 12 user teams in there, and that would be fun, especially like if it's like year 3 or 4, and we all got like our dynasties going. Like someone's rebuilt Toledo from a 63 overall team to like an 88, after 3 years. Like that's what's fun, in my opinion, or whatever. So kind of some of the teams I want to talk about as well are some of the teams that what I would call is like sweet spots for picking teams to be. And I think some of those sweet spots are some of the lower level, lower level of those big four conferences. So maybe like a Rutgers, a Syracuse, in the ACC, Wake Forest, something like that, because they're not going to be super high overall, but they are still in those big conferences where you play other competition and you can make the playoffs. So if you go, 9-3 with Vanderbilt, like you're in the college football playoffs, for sure, because, or at least 10-2 probably that you will, because they'll value you over an 11-1 Akron or something like that, Eastern Michigan. They value that higher at first, right? Like I said, if we move conferences around, eventually, if you have success, that's something we can do. But I think the goal would be, you want more people in the playoffs, at least a chance to be in the playoffs, right? That's the goal. So yeah, like a Vanderbilt, I think would be a good team. Now, this is just my opinion, but I'm just thinking at first, you at least have that advantage to make the playoffs. But I don't want to discourage anyone from, picking some of these bad teams to rebuild. Maybe I do. I'm going to pick my team last just to see the direction of the league goes. So I don't really have a set team. I have some ideas of different teams to be. But all I want to do is kind of give the warning, say, hey, you have a really low overall team, it's common sense. You may not make the playoffs year one. Simple as that, If you pick FAU or FIU or something like that, you may not make the playoffs year one. So, like, Illinois would be, like, one of those sweet spot teams, low overall, in my opinion. I got no problem with anyone picking, a team like that. Houston would be fine. Cincinnati, BYU, and the Big 12. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, like I said, Vanderbilt I have no problem with. So you can find big, like Boston College, no problem. Louisville, Pittsburgh, SMU. A lot of these ACC teams are really good. Cal would be perfect. Cal, Stanford, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, good teams to be. Because you just have that advantage to make the playoffs, right? And you also have that time to rebuild still. You're still going to be able to rebuild. So it's kind of a win-win. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Just be cautious with picking some of these lower overall teams. Second thing I want to say is, talk to other people that are in the league with us, and say, hey, do you want to be in a conference with me? It's a win-loss reward. You might be able to knock, hey, if you have a friend in the conference, in the league, you want to be in the MAC together, well, only one of you guys are going to win it, which means if you're beating all the CPU teams, you might only have one user game, and that's the person in the conference championship, So maybe only one of you make it, each year. So that's something that could be competitive and fun, where it's like, oh, shoot, you got to win your games, win your final game. And the second thing another thing to talk about would be, you can feel out, once people start making their teams or whatever, people have teams set, do you like user games? That's what I said. Talk to other people in the league. Do you want to play other user games? Because in general, unless you're in a conference with other users, you're not going to get many user games until the playoffs come around. This is mostly a CPU type of league, unless, say, hey, me, you, and you, let's all be an ACC team. Then you get a few user games, but it's not going to be all user games like you can do in Madden. In Madden, you can make it where it's if you're in a conference zone, you can get half your games to be users. I don't see any way of that even happening unless we get 30 people. Filling up a conference. So, so if you're a guy likes user teams, maybe try to be in a conference with someone. But for other users, if you don't like user games at all, and you don't even care about playing user games or even make a college football playoffs, be a team that's in a low level conference by themselves. So many different options and stuff you can go with it. Another thing would be looking at the recruits for this year and last year, picking teams that have young players that you can play with for 4 seasons before you get CPU generated players. If you pick a team with a senior quarterback, just beware. You may not have, you're gonna have to, the transfer portals and stuff like that, and they have other players, but keep in mind of the age of the players is all I'm kind of saying. So lots of things to consider. And I'm gonna kind of see the way people pick, right? But I think in general, people are going to kind of pick the mid teams to lower overall team. I think that's perfect. It'll give some competition, but like I said, just beware. I could just kind of picture it where it's the end of year one, and 4 or 5 people go 12-0 in some of these not so big conferences, and the college football playoffs only takes 2 of them in. So someone's going to go 12-0 or 11-1, not make the playoffs, year one. And, if they're still not letting you in, I don't know how it all will work, but like I said, maybe we can do conference realignment at some point. Like, okay, let these people up, It's also part of the dynasty, That's how it works in real life, too. Once you start winning, they let you in the conferences, the bigger conferences. So, yes, scheme of some teams to be. I guess that's kind of all I wanted to cover, And for the most part, I don't have a big deal with whatever team you guys pick, But just do some research, consider the college football playoffs in there as well. Because for me, it's like I want to win the college football playoffs, but I don't want to, I want to have fun doing it. If I pick Bama and everyone else is 75 overall teams and lower, like they specifically said 5 stars are going to be playing way better than 2 stars and 3 stars. Like I'm just going to, like whoever is Bama, if you're a half decent player, you're going to smoke everybody below you. That's not fun. Like I said, that's why I'm not going to let certain people be those Bamas and Georgias, stuff like that, and whatever bigger teams. So yeah, that's really all I really wanted to say. So we'll start actually picking teams here soon. We've just still have more time than you think, until the game is released. So there's a lot more time to think about it, and consider what team you actually want to be. But until then, scheme, and there'll be more announcements coming out with the game soon, and more information. Maybe team overalls at some point would be great. And maybe just take some ideas that I had there and give it a thought. Okay.